So I've been traveling a lot in the past year, and with every new trip that I take, I end up learning something that I should do for future trips to either get myself more organized or just to try to make actually being in the airport and being on the plane easier. So I've accumulated 10 tips and I'm going to share them with you. 1. Have a carry-on pouch. Something that looks like this with a little zipper is fine, or like a little cross body bag. This is what you would want to have to put your wallet, boarding pass, passport, and a pen in. Now, obviously you can just take your regular carry-on or your personal item and put your stuff in there, but if you're like me, sometimes you tend to forget to actually put things where they're supposed to in there, and they get misplaced, and you might end up losing your passport or your boarding pass that way. I've accidentally lost my passport for about 20 minutes that way, and as I've walked around the airports a couple of times, I've seen boarding passes get left behind by accident. So it's just nice to have something small like this to always hold in your hand or have out, so if you're going to get something to eat or if you're at customs and you need to get your passports and stuff out, it's all right here instead of having to like take your bag off or open up your carry-on and, you know, fiddle through that. I carry a carry-on that's kind of like a small suitcase and a backpack, and opening those just takes too much time. So it's just nice to have everything in one little spot. 2. Pack smart and organized. It's easy to just throw everything in the bag and go, especially if you're packing at the last minute, which, by the way, don't pack at the last minute. I am that person that will actually pack about a week ahead of time. Mostly I pack clothes first, like shirts and stuff. I have a lot of shirts already, so I can just put the ones that I know I don't really need to wear here and just put those in my bag so it's already done. But if you're going somewhere for only a short amount of time and you don't want to unpack everything and leave it in the room, it's nice to make sure everything is organized so you can just pick something out and when you're done, put it back in where it was before, which is what I like to do when I'm taking small business trips like VidCon and the public speaking thing that I did. It's just nice to have it all still there. 3. Have multiple copies of your boarding passes in various formats. So what I mean is have a physical copy of your boarding pass that you can actually hold, like a piece of paper. Have them mailed to you in your email so it's always there online if you need to get back to it. And if you can, which you should be able to, save it or put it in like your little, I don't know what it's called, but iPhone has it. Excuse me for a second. I think it might be the wallet app on this, but I'm not really sure. You probably know what I'm talking about anyway. But like I said in the previous tip, I've seen people leave their boarding passes behind, and sometimes there's not enough time to go to customer service desk and get them reprinted. So just have a bunch of them in different formats and be good. 4. If you don't already use a credit card, get a prepaid credit card for emergencies just in case. When I was flying back to Charlotte in November from Toronto, I unexpectedly had a third bag. So instead of just having my little carry-on and my book bag and getting, you know, just ready to go on the plane, I had to check that bag in. Now I had $30 in cash, which was enough to check in or to check it, but they wouldn't take cash. United would not take cash, and I was kind of screwed because I didn't have a credit card or a prepaid credit card. They told me to go down to the 7-Eleven to get one, but they would only take it if I had $50 because that was the minimum requirement. So I spent about an hour not knowing what to do because I had nobody to contact, but thankfully somebody else who was going to be on the same flight as me, well, he just happened to be on the same flight as me, it doesn't really matter, but he had a credit card and he took my cash and then used his credit card to check my bag, which was really awesome. But now I know that just in case, because I know I'm going to be bringing an actual gigantic suitcase to Toronto on my next trip, I'm going to have a credit card just in case. Which brings me to this next one. 5. Bring emergency cash. This is probably unlikely at an airport, but some places in general might not take cash or credit card machines might be down. So if you want to get something to eat or, you know, just buy something, it's always good to have a little bit of cash. You don't need a lot of it, just maybe $10 to $20 depending on how much you actually want to get. But I was always using just cash during my Toronto trips, but now I know it's just nice to have both just in case. 6, get an international phone plan. This is just in case there's a delay on your flight or a cancellation, and if you are being picked up, then you want to contact them. Of course, you could do it on Facebook or something, but not everybody has social media, so you gotta get their attention somehow. I'm always being picked up. I've never driven myself to the airport and parked my car there, so if something happens, I can't be stranded at the airport. Not only that, but just in case something happens while you're in the other country, it's nice to get in touch with people. 7, keep your devices charged. This is kind of a given because people are always trying to get their phones charged and plugged into the wall, but it can get very, very crowded in the airports, so you might not be able to find a spot to charge your phone. So just in case, overnight before your flight, charge everything. Your computer, your phone, your tablet, whatever you have, charge it. 8, bring a pen and notebook. Mostly the pen rather than the notebook, depending on the situation. If you are flying internationally, bring a pen for the declaration card when you're on the plane. That way you don't have to wait to see if somebody else has a pen or for the flight attendant. Because if they have a pen, it's normally a limited amount. So just to get it out of the way, have your pen in your carry-on pouch. It's easy to get and you're done. And bring a notebook in case there's some information that's being told and you want to write it down really quick. I know you can put the information down in your phone, but sometimes maybe you feel like writing it down instead. And you can always doodle on the plane, you know? Fun stuff. 9, bring a book or some sort of entertainment. If you get a delay, it gets boring, depending on the delay. I had a 5.5 hour layover in Philadelphia, which turned into about 6 or 7 hours of layover, which was so boring. Thankfully, I had work to do, so that kept me busy, but not everybody has work to do. Or you don't want to do work anymore, because So, bring a book or have games on your iPad or your phone, whatever. I have the Sailor Moon version of that Candy Crush game on my iPad, so if I'm really, really bored, that's usually the game that I go to play because it really keeps me occupied and I must finish a game and I must get to the next level when I play or I am not a happy person. And last but not least, 10, get there at least an hour earlier than they tell you. If you're flying internationally, normally you have to be there 2 hours before departure. Unless you're flying from Hawaii, then it's 3 hours for some reason. I don't know. Now, normally you can probably get away with the 1 hour or the 2 hours if you're flying domestically or internationally, but sometimes it will sneak up on you. The lines get way too long, the airport is understaffed, and you take forever. I will have a future video on this if I don't post that before this, but the last trip from Toronto to Charlotte, I had to wait in customs for 2 hours even though I was there 2 hours before departure, which I kind of missed my flight, which ended up being delayed anyway, so I didn't miss it. You'll know more later. I'm someone that loves to be at the airport about 3 to 4 hours before my flight, which sounds ridiculous, but I would rather spend a little more time in the airport doing nothing than miss my flight and have to go through the trouble of hoping to have a different flight and all of that. But like I said, normally there isn't much of a problem. I've been on, I would say, more than 5 trips, I think. Yeah, more than 5 trips, and I've had not really any problems except for the last one, which was 2 hours in a customs line, and that was very, very stressful, so you don't want that. So as of right now, those are the tips that I can think of, and if I end up coming up with more tips in the future, we'll make another video. But if you have any traveling tips, feel free to leave them down in the comments because I am always wanting to make my trips a lot easier.